Okay, in this section, I will explain on the factors which governing the site investigation. Basically, I already explained on the purpose of conducting site investigation. So this is done. So next, I will talk on the factors in site investigation or factors that need to be considered when undertaking the site investigation work. So this is the lesson outcomes. Make sure at the end of the session you are able to identify and explain the purpose of conducting the site investigation and also identify what are the factors which governing or need to be considered while doing the site investigation. So before I proceed, let's recap what is site investigation. Anyone want to answer my question? Alright, basically the simple idea of site investigation is a study to determine the engineering properties of soil and rock. So why we need to know all this? Because it will interact with the development plan for that particular construction site. So how this can happen? Because by knowing the properties of the soil, okay, it will establish the parameters for the purpose of foundation and substructures design. Okay, so that is the basic ideas of site investigation. So before we proceed with the site investigation, there are many factors need to be considered. Okay, so the factors can be classified or can be grouped into two, which are economical factors and also technical factors. So I will explain in detail in the following slide. Now I will talk about the economical factors. Basically, this factor relate with the capital or investment to be allocated for a project. So it's about how much money that client will spend to conduct the site investigation. Overall, there are many aspects can be related and discussed, but in this context of discussion, only three aspects will be highlighted, which are the first one is development cost, the second one is transportation cost, and the third one is utilities and services cost. So for development cost, what the consultant can do is compare the cost with similar project in the nearby area and analyze if the project is worthwhile to be proceed or not. Let's say the development cost is much more higher compared to the previous similar project. So might be the client can think twice either you want to proceed or not. So for transportation costs, it relates with the testing required, either to be conducted in situ or at the laboratory. So what machine that need to be rent and transport to the site if it required in situ testing? So you need to the consultant need to identify is there any access road or if let's say there is no access road or existing road, so do they need to construct temporary access? So all these aspects might affect the cost. Next is the services and utilities cost. Initially, the sources such as power supply, water supply need to be identified at that particular area, the potential construction site. So if let's say there is already existing utilities, so this might reduce some costs. But if there is no existing utilities and services, this might incur the cost. So I think you can try to discuss in your own words why this happened. Okay, now I will talk on the technical factors. The first one is determination of groundwater level. The groundwater level need to be addressed at initial stage because we do not want to pollute the environment in the first place and throughout the process. By knowing the groundwater level, we also can determine the types of foundation to be used for that particular project. Next is flood level and existing drainage system. This is important because we want to know either the drainage system can cater the runoff and the flood, if any. Okay, next is location of existing services. Right, my question is, why knowing the underground existing services, including the water pipe, the electrical cable and other services, is important? Okay, I give you example. Okay, this is the power cable. Okay, this is the power cable. Let's say if there is no site investigation conducted at this particular area, okay, and we do not know the power cable is laid underneath at this area, we don't have the information. Okay, what will happen during the construction phase if an operator operate this excavator and do excavation at this particular area? Can you imagine what will happen? So next is marine effect. If let's say you want to construct a wharf and jetty, logically this structure will be constructed nearby the sea. Thus, it's prone to the sulfate attack which might affect the structures such as corrosion. That's why it is important to investigate the types of soil, the surroundings such as water type, water level, the salt water, so that the information can be gathered for the purpose of designing and overcome all the potential problems. Okay, next is site survey. So when you do the site survey, intentionally you want to know the boundary of the construction site. So for example, this is the boundary of your construction site. Right. So you need to make sure that your construction work only conducted in this boundary. Okay, so next is soil and subsoil condition survey. There are various approaches can be used to obtain the soil sample. Okay, all this method as you can see, test pit, auger boring, wash boring, rotary drilling, basically has been discussed in the previous section, including this test, constant penetration test, and also maintain load test. Okay, the sample either be tested in situ, okay, in situ like this technical person do, okay, they do the testing on the field, okay, or they can bring the sample to the laboratory and conduct the experiment at the lab. Okay, the analysis of the data is very crucial because it will produce the necessary parameters for the purpose of substructure design, such as the foundation. Okay, next is topography. So as you can see, this is example of topography map. In the map, it shows the contour line. So by looking at the contour line, it indicates we can know which one is the hilly area, which one is the steep area, and so forth. This aspect is important to be looked in detail. Why? Because we want to know If there is any potential area which prone to slope failure. So this is example of slope failure. So we don't want this to happen at the potential construction site. And also we need to indicate is there any risk related with soil or slope stability. Okay, so this is important because we don't want any incident happen during the construction phase. So beside by knowing the topography, this might help the contractor to propose the best site layout for the project. Next is site history. Basically, we do not know what had happened at the area previously. For example, if there is illegal dumping occurred at that area, the soil might be contaminated. So the groundwater also prone to be contaminated due to this condition. So that's why site investigation is important. Okay, the last part is conclusion. I will not make any conclusion for this discussion. So what I need you to do is please write your own conclusion based on your understanding related to the topic. So I think that's all for this topic. Thank you.